What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, or wherever you are, and whatever time it is, welcome back to yet another video with your man, Immersiaholic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our fourth online battle for the divided Impera overhaul mod for Total War Rome 2. Today, we have Armenia taking on the Ardiaei, played by my good friend Toxborg. Once again, link to his channel will be down below. Please do go check him out and tell him your man Immersiaholic sent you. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about my army composition very quickly, and then we will get into the replay itself. Alrighty, so let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So we have two Armenian thorax swordsmen. These guys are just a little bit of a step down from the legionnaire in pretty much every aspect, but I couldn't afford having even more legionnaires. So we just have two Armenian thorax swordsmen here. We have four Armenian pikemen. I was tempted to bring 5, but it wasn't really necessary. These guys will form the center of my main battle line and basically make it so he can't punch through my center. Almost nothing could beat that unless he has a lot of skirmishes, which is possible with the Ardiaei. I don't really know the Ardiaei roster all that well, and I didn't know that especially before doing this battle, so all I thought he would have is a fair bit of skirmishes and some decent shock infantry. But anyway, that's my line of thought and what I was thinking. We'll have 4 pikemen in the center, we have 2 thorax swordsmen on the wings, and then behind our pikemen and next to them, we have 5 Armenian legionnaires. In addition, we also have just a single Armenian spearman unit. This is just extra money that I couldn't be bothered to put into XP. I mean, I could be bothered, but it just wasn't necessary for any of my units, so instead I got a cannon fodder unit. Then we have 3 Armenian slingers just to try and deal with any long-range skirmishes that he has. Again, I don't really know the Ardiaei roster all that well, so I just wanted to have at least some skirmishing capability to help me in case he brought in quite a few skirmishes. However, then we have the main killers of this roster, which is the cavalry. We have the Armenian Azad nobles. I have 2 of them. These guys are fantastic melee cav units and very good shock cav units as well. We're pretty solid shock cav, but they mainly act as a melee cavalry unit, pretty much an elite melee cav unit. Then I got 1 Armenian noble cataphract, which is obviously going to destroy his infantry if it gets behind them. And then my general's bodyguard is also an Armenian noble cataphract. We're using the warrior general skill type to help deal some morale damage to the enemy. And that is our roster in a nutshell. But now, let's jump into the battle, and I will show you guys exactly what I did. So, let's do it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on the battlefield map. Very quickly, I just realized I actually messed up a little with my army composition that I showed you. Just a tiny little addendum. I actually didn't bring in an extra Armenian cataphract unit. Instead, I just have my general's bodyguard. But in the battle itself, we have 3 Armenian Azad nobles over here, and they are in the rear of our formation here. We have a pretty short formation, it's not very wide. I went for a little bit more of a depth and mobility focused build here. So let's just hit slow motion while we check it out. 3 Armenian Azad nobles in the rear. Fantastic melee cav units, should be more than enough to deal with whatever cav he sends up my way. General in the center, Armenian cataphract unit, fantastic unit. In the front of him we have 4 pikemen units. Then I had my 3 slingers, and then right in front of my slingers I actually had my very cheap, pathetic Armenian spearman unit. This is just a unit that will soak up enemy fire, and because it's a spear unit and it's very large, it will dissuade his cavalry from charging forward at my skirmishers and stopping them from being effective. So that was also very much intentional. And that's our center. On our right hand flank here we have 2 Armenian legionnaire units right here. Let's try to get some nice little close-ups of them because they look pretty sick. These guys look like just like Roman legionnaires, except you can tell they have that Armenian flavor going on. Very useful units, very powerful. Not really, they're not used for a shock by any means, but they will grind the crap out of enemy units, especially his hoplites, which I believe that he should have, but we'll see shortly. Then behind them, we have one of our thorax units. These guys are definitely a step down from the Armenian legionnaires, but they're a little bit more mobile, and they're still a fantastic unit, and I was counting on them to basically be used in conjunction with my legionnaires to basically swing around. You can see I have them behind my legionnaires slightly to the right, So I'm hoping whatever infantry he has will come and slam into my legionnaires. And then I'll flank around the right like this, and then pin any infantry who's sent against me with my thorax units. And we have the same setup here on the left, 2 legionnaires at the front, thorax in the rear. However, to the left, we actually have our 3rd Armenian legionnaire as well. That's right, I brought 5 legionnaires. I was very focused on trying to be sword heavy with this build, but also very mobile, which is funny because I have pikemen as a main front line, but pikemen should on their own be enough to basically hold anything that comes forward towards them, as long as there isn't heavy skirmishes. I only needed 4 because they make enough of a battle line. I know the battle here is going to be won on the flanks, on the left and the right. That's why I have my cavalry back up here in the rear, so they can very quickly be sent to the right or left, depending on his formation. And let's look at that very quickly. At the front of his formation, he's sent forward his cavalry. He has two very light skirmisher units. Not very effective at all. It's quite clear that I have the cavalry advantage, at least from what we've seen so far. He then has a massive line, though, of hoplites. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hoplites in front of us. Let's actually get the name of them very quickly. Illyrian heavy infantry. So they're not hoplites per se. They don't have the hoplite ability, but they have the discipline formation ability. So heavy spearmen, sorry. Those big shields made them look like hoplites to me. So very solid line of spearmen. However, they're still going to lose to pikemen, and they'll lose to my Armenian legionnaires, so I'm not worried about that at all. On his right hand flank, he has 2 Lapode swordsmen. Yeah, not really all that great, but there's a lot of them in each unit. They could pose a threat if they get recharges on my infantry. You can see his cavalry is already retreating because my skirmishers did a mass volley on them. Here it actually comes now. The stones flying in. Whoa! Oh, that looks sick. That would not be nice. Oh, wow, that's brutal. Behind his spearmen, though, not only does he have his general now, but he also has 1, 2, 3, 4 units of archers, the Brucii archers or Brucii archers. These guys are not all that good by any means, but they do have a range of 175, which is a little concerning. So I do need to be careful. They could obliterate a lot of my pikemen units if I let them. However, here on his flank, something that I picked up very early on, and something that is really good. It's not a bad move at all, but we'll talk a bit more about it. But what he's done here is he has his heavy infantry at the front, but then he also has elite seeker bearer units behind them. He has 2 elite seeker bearers right here. Very solid units, fantastic on the charge. Not a lot of armor piercing damage, but they're still fantastic. Very, very nice. And then behind them, he has 2 more elite seeker bearers. So it's pretty obvious what he's doing here. He's going heavy on his left hand flank. He's going to pin my infantry down with some tanky spearmen. He's going to try and circle around and use his elite shock infantry here to rear charge my own troops. And then he has some cavalry to try and help his own units deal with my cavalry. But anyway, tied the UI. Now let's get into it. I will leave the map up there. Do comment down below though if you would like to see that removed for our next fight. But I'll leave it for now just so you guys can see what's going on. Obviously, our army is the yellow one. So anyway, let's hit play and let's see what happens. So we have the skirmisher fight beginning. I'm doing a mass attack order on his archers right now of all my slingers. Hopefully that'll even kill some of his general's bodyguard. In the center, he's pushing forward, but not too quickly with his heavy infantry. His cavalry is actually rotating to his right flank on my left. And I'm doing the same thing. I realize that on this right-hand flank, I can't win, so I'm playing defensively. I set up my Armenian legionnaires in a defensive angle. I also have my thorax swordsman over here to stop whatever infantry is obviously going to try and surround me with. We managed to get off our peeler as well, which is very nice. Deal some damage. Won't really get kills, but it helps us out. The legionnaires will receive the charge here on the right, while on the left-hand flank, I'm also pushing super hard over there because I know his right-hand flank is weak. So here we go with our attack orders. Let's get the charge in. Armenian legionnaires charging the seeker bearers. He didn't really get a good attack order off. Not a very good charge at all. My thorax swordsmen are coming in. They're actually set it as an attack order on that unit, so here they're just going to run into this unit right here. Major mistake right there. But the main thing I'm trying to do is capture as many units as possible right here and tie them up with my single thorax unit. My cavalry takes some damage from his peeler, but they're going to maneuver around and start getting recharges ASAP. In the meantime, I'm trying to adjust my pikeman wall because he's actually adjusted his entire battle line to be a little bit awkward and way more defensive than what I expected. On the left hand flank here, I'm trying to push forward hard with my Armenian legionnaires and my thorax unit. He's pulling back this entire time, though. You can see right here. Initially, it was like a flat face, but now we're almost at a complete 90-degree angle where he's backed off massively. So I'm seeing this, and I'm trying to chase down his slower heavy infantry units with my legionnaires and his weaker swordsmen here. Now, you're going to see a very cheeky play coming up now where I'm pushing my cavalry very, very hard on his left, on my left here. And then in the rear, I actually have my unit of cavalry that I had on the right flank. And I was planning to do recharges with it, but now that all of his shock infantry are tied up, or almost all of them, he does get one of them around, I'm actually going to send it all the way over around his entire army and around to the rear so we can deal with this cav. If I can deal with this cav, then we pretty much have the battle wrapped up. But he realizes the danger here, and so he's going to use his general's bodyguard, which is a pretty decent shock cav unit, along with his skirmishers to try and annihilate the single cav unit. I do give an attack order. It isn't ideal though, and so our guys will get hammered right here, and they're taking skirmisher fire. However, it's okay to me because we now have our own cavalry coming in. The attack orders are given. In come the Azat nobles. Boom! Beautiful charge into the skirmisher cav. How many kills we gonna get on the charge? Around 20? 107, 643, no 4. We had almost 20 kills on that charge. Very, very nice overall. I'm trying to give some more attack orders, but in the meantime, while I'm wrapping up his cavalry, I'm still trying to micromanage my center over here. My pikemen are moving forward, at least some of them are. It's very awkward. I left these two behind by my mistake with my micro. My legionnaires are pushing very hard still against his right-hand flank. And then on my far right-hand flank, what I'm doing now is I'm rotating my generic crappy spearman over to my right because he's now starting to envelop me very, very quickly. He's overrun that single thorax swordsman that was holding up multiple units of his seeker bearers. And now I'm having to combine my general's bodyguard, which is a cataphract unit, in conjunction with just cheap units that I need to send over here and buy as much time for my center and my left to win the fight on their respective fronts. We get a charge in here, doesn't matter because it's just a cheap levy unit, but then here comes the cataphracts. Come on in, baby. Oh yeah. Woo! Beautiful, devastating. Absolutely savage, guys. Very, very nice charge. Immediately pull him out, get him out of there. His other infantry's coming in. And now we'll also send our slingers around to hold that right flank. While that's happening though, we've pretty much won the entire cavalry fight up here on the hill. His units didn't manage to escape us all that well. And so now we have cavalry superiority. He still has a couple units of archers. They're trying to target my cavalry units, but by this time, we're rushing so quickly, he doesn't have enough time to form up his army to protect his skirmishers. So now he's basically just going to give some generic attack orders while I'm doing the same over here. We have our legionnaires coming in. Azat nobles in the rear getting beautiful charges. Their archers are still firing on us, but we're tying them up now with our cavalry. They'll annihilate them very quickly and actually rout a unit on the charge straight away. Over here we have another infantry unit, just a swordsman heavy unit. Is going up against my Azat noble that got massacred by his cavalry that all ganged up on it. But that's still okay. We're just delaying it. We're making sure that he can't use this unit to come out and outflank us even more than what he already has. My slingers over here getting involved in the melee, holding down his seeker bearers before they can continue wrapping us up and getting the charge. General's bodyguard is in the rear getting charges. Back towards the center, we actually have a very awkward situation. We've actually won the fight on the far left with our legionnaires. Now pikemen are over here engaged with his spearmen in the center. Things are very, very awkward with it, but it's going pretty well for us so far. We have some of his units surrounded. You can see in this little backwards L shape here. We're doing very nicely with that. And I'm also giving attack orders. I'm giving repeated attack orders with my pikemen, so they push. You can see right there that unit just pushed. That's because I'm double clicking on the enemy to make sure that they keep pushing in. There's another little push right here. his center is getting annihilated. And then combining our cavalry up in the center and the rear, along with our general's bodyguard on the right, we're now seeing his elite seeker bearers, the bread and butter of his army, the thing that should have won him the infantry battle, get annihilated. Let's see very quickly. Our general's bodyguard is at 123 kills right now. Very, very nice. And that's on elite infantry that he's charging. He's not charging junk. He's charging the best that he has to offer. You'll see in the rear now we're starting to really start to wrap up his right-hand flank. Our left-hand flank is going very, very nicely. Our Armenian legionnaires are coming in and getting involved, and they're going up against spearmen. Spearmen are not really going to do very well against our swordsmen. If these guys were lightly armored swordsmen, then maybe, but they're not. They're very, very devastating. And give them a couple of minutes and they'll get a lot of kills. Speaking of a lot of kills, here comes a bunch right now. We get massive charges all across the rear right here. As our nobles come in, annihilate lots of his spearmen in conjunction with our cataphract unit over here. It's going perfectly so far. It looks like the battle's just about over. We're wrapping up the last of his units. He only has a few more left. His center is about to collapse to our pikemen. Our general's bodyguard unit is doing very, very nice, continuing the rear charges. The bodyguard and the Azat nobles are pulling back to come in for another rear charge. We're seeing a bunch of waivers happen all at once. General's bodyguard has already used his fear ability, so we can't use it on these guys, but it doesn't matter. Units in the rear route, and the front line follows it in suit. And ladies and gentlemen, just like that, Armenia defeats the Ardiaei. We win. Very nice battle. GG's to my man Toxwalk. That was really fun. Now let's jump into the statistics screen so we can see exactly what kills occurred. Alrighty, so let's check out the KD and see exactly what happened. I deployed 3,700 men. He deployed 3,800. You can see here I'm actually missing one unit. That's because I didn't do a full 2020 army. I instead focused on getting excellent cavalry, and our 3 Azad nobles that we had in conjunction with our very good cataphract bodyguard unit ended up being worthy of the investment and sacrificing having fewer numbers, and it wasn't by much anyway. We ended up losing 1,000 men, most of which appeared to be some of our legionnaires. We had one pikeman unit here get obliterated by his archers, but it still held out and lasted. And then our slinger unit here got demolished, and then one of our cav units got ganged up on by all of his cav all at once. Plus his archers were also targeting it, so fair enough, they did still get 91 kills, so I'm still pretty happy with that Azat noble. The other 2 Azats, so they did fantastic, 338 kills, 182. These guys won me the battle in conjunction with our general's bodyguard at 203 kills. They played their roles absolutely perfectly. My idea with this build was I'll have a solid pike wall that will last quite a while in combat, and then I have legionnaires that will also, not only will they get kills over a long period of time, especially against spear units like the Ardiaei, like what the Ardiaei give or field, but in addition, they will also survive for a very long time. Even if they're going to lose a fight, because they're so disciplined, heavily armored, and have good melee defense, these guys won't rout very easily. And so that bought me more than enough time that I needed to crush his cavalry, deal with his skirmishes, and by that point it was way too late. All we had to do was continue the recharges and the pressure on the battlefield. He did a really awesome tactic. I really loved seeing flanks get overloaded with infantry. Very nice little tactic there. He nearly won. It's just I did really lucky, to be honest, with one of my thorax units here that got demolished. This is the unit that held up like 3 of his seeker bearers all at once. If he managed to at least just use 2 to deal with my thorax unit and continued wrapping around, that battle could have ended very, very differently, because then he could have recharged my legionnaires, my pikemen, or anything like that, and there wouldn't be all that much I could do about it at that time until I brought in my general's bodyguard. But even then, who knows what could have happened. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of different ways that battle could have panned out. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really fun for me, and it felt very tactical, and I loved his strategy. Do go check out his channel and see his point of view, along with other online battles that me and him have done, along with his own content as well, which is very awesome, and I highly recommend you check him out. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one.